Welcome back, and welcome to me back to the F1 Masters podcast brought to you by AUBG Daily. As usual, you have me, David, and Harry, and we're going to discuss a relatively eventful Las Vegas Grand Prix that, after the disqualification of both McLaren's, means that the championship is back on 2 races to go, and everything is up to grab for Piastri as well. I forget Piastri at times because of his poor form, but Verstappen, Piastri, Norris, 2 races to go. We have 3 people that are competing for the championship. Really interesting season.
Let's start with practice. Charles Leclerc got P1 in FP1, which was a surprise for most. And then FP2 was stopped because of a loose drain cover once again. Not the first time happening in Vegas. They need to deal with this. They have so much money and resources. They have to deal with drain covers, obviously. And Mercedes were strong in FP3, which was... It was expected that they would perform well in Vegas because the track is... the race is held in colder conditions, and we know that the car really performs well in such weather conditions. And to mention as well, Williams and RB were promising in practice. And we would see if this would transform into a good result in the race.
Yeah, also so many issues with drain covers. You'd think they're driving in Bulgaria. But moving on to qualifying, we had actually a wet qualifying, and the drivers actually used the wet tires, and I saw a stat that apparently this qualifying session was actually 28% of all used wet tires since 2023, which is quite unbelievable, but not surprising if you follow F1. Wet tires are just there just to exist, but they actually used them this time. And even though it was wet qualifying, Lewis Hamilton could not do anything better than last on the grid on pace, which was mildly depressing, and the first time in his career he ever qualified last. We also had Kimi Antonelli also dropping out of Q1, which was quite surprising, and Alex Albon crashed into the wall to end Q1. Someone who was really good, who's obviously a wet weather master, is Lance Stroll, and he actually put on inters first in Q2, and was the only one to do it, but it ended up being too early and the track wasn't fully ready for inters, that he ended up getting eliminated in Q2. And so we moved on to Q3, which was full inters. Very entertaining Q3, but Lando Norris pulled out a masterclass of a lap, and he was so far ahead after the first 2 sectors that even though he lost so much time in the 3rd sector, he still got pole position. Very impressive. Max got P2, and Carlos Sainz surprisingly took P3. Very impressive performance from him. Whilst the other championship contender, Oscar Piastri, was down in P5. So, yeah, it was set up to be an interesting race. And Norris honestly looks set to really solidify the championship, though, with this another great qualifying performance.
Well, also some other talking points. We had, once again, Yuki Tsunoda, who was out in Q1, which is... I don't know what is happening. I suggest that they just put him in a Fiat Punto, let's say, till the end of the season. At least that wouldn't cost them a lot. Also, as you mentioned, Antonelli was out, but also Pierre Gasly was in Q3, which for such a slow Alpine car was good. Actually good for the team. And once again, we had both racing bulls in Q3, which is they have found form, both of them actually. I think Hadjar, at this point, we can say that he was probably the most impressive rookie this season. And also Lawson, he really found his place after he was replaced in Red Bull. But unfortunately for Yuki, things are not looking good. Yes, impressive drive from Tsunoda, from Sainz, and it was looking like we have a race that is going to seal the championship for Lando probably, but actually the things turned out differently. And actually, moving on to the race, we understood that this is going to be an interesting race after the first lap, and actually after the first corner. What do you think about the first corner?
Yeah, there was a lot happening. First of all, Norris had to defend like from Max, and then he braked really late while trying to defend, and he dived deep, and Max took the opportunity to get P1. Behind them there was a lot of chaos as Gabi Bortoleto really did not judge his braking well, and he took Stroll out. And also Gasly was spun by Stroll as a result. And Lawson and Piastri had contact as well, because Lawson also kind of braked late. And Leclerc was pushed off the track, which I don't think many people saw. But because when I was watching the race, the commentators did not notice it in any way. But it's important to mention that he lost a few positions, I think. And also Russell overtook Norris for P2 in the next few corners, which was an important thing as well.
Yeah, also Lewis Hamilton gained like 7 positions on the start, which I found like very surprising. Gabi Bortoleto, he just decided to take out half of the field pretty much. Kind of disappointing, you know. I really like Gabi Bortoleto, but last few races he has not been on form. Also Lando missing his braking. It was like, oh my god, the Lando Norris bottle job that we're so used to, that we've missed so much, has finally reappeared for the final races of the championship. But still, he was running in a good position. He does have the points lead, so it wasn't the end of the world for him. Kimi Antonelli got a 5-second penalty for a false start, which I would remember watching the race, and they showed the replay, and I'm like, what is the false start? I didn't even notice a false start. And then I like watched like after the race, and he was like barely moving, like his tires were not like stopped fully. And well, I was surprised that if I even noticed that, honestly. And I thought it was a weird penalty, but still it ended up not really making a difference at the end, which we'll talk about later on. And yeah, the start was pretty hectic. Liam Lawson, though, he got some damage because of all the debris on track. And there was this VSC that came out in the first laps, and interestingly, Kimi Antonelli made the pit stop onto the hards, and he spent the entire race on those hard tires, which I didn't think was going to happen, but that strategy ended up working out perfectly, and he was all of a sudden fighting for, podium positions, and it was unbelievable, really, I thought, what Antonelli did.
We expected a great race for Mercedes actually last week or 2 weeks ago when we commented on our expectations for the race, and actually in a bit different manner, but actually the race turned out really good for Mercedes. They took a lot of points, and yes, the strategy I found that it was good. And for the first corner as well, we were this close actually to like collision between Lando Norris and Max Verstappen. And but actually when I watched the replay, actually I was like, Max is done. Like they're going to crash. But actually in the end everything turned out great. And after Max took the lead in the race, after that things were looking much better. And the whole race he was calm, and things were just looking good for him and for Red Bull as well.
Yeah, I mean, Russell was actually pretty close even after the pit stops. He was like 1-2 seconds back, but then he began conserving things. I don't know. Mercedes said that he had some kind of issue with the car. He needed to preserve the car, and so Norris passed him. But then Norris also had serious fuel issues, and he drastically dropped his pace so that he can finish the race, and then ended up not mattering. But yeah, Max Verstappen managed to win the race quite comfortably. In the first stint, we also Charles Leclerc was actually fast, which has not been really the case, I felt like, recently, but very good pace. I was very impressed. He overtook Oscar Piastri on the track, made some good moves. Strategy, questionable. They let Oscar Piastri undercut him, and at the end, very strangely, dropped out of 5 seconds from Kimi Antonelli, even though he was like right behind him the whole time. I couldn't even explain why this happened, and ended up missing out on a podium by 1/10, which was quite frustrating, but still, Ferrari things.
The Ferrari way.
Yes. And yeah, I mean, the second stint honestly was kind of lackluster. I don't know, nothing really happened in the second stint. We just had like Norris's issue at the end, and pretty much no really serious overtakes going on. Lewis Hamilton, after his fantastic start, struggled to progress quite a lot and ended up like on the second stint just being slower than Nico Hulkenberg. I saw him just losing more and more time to him, which was quite disappointing.
And also Hamilton actually participated once again in an incident with Alex Albon this time, because in Brazil we remember he kind of collided with Franco Colapinto, but I think with Albon it was not his fault because Albon
got a penalty.
Yeah, because Albon misjudged, went to overtake and he broke his front wing and after that retired. But yeah, I don't know why Lewis, people seem to crash into him recently and he's not even at fault for what's happening. So, but luckily he didn't retire. He managed to finish the race even though it was a lowly P10, then a P8 after the final results.
Yeah.
Still, it was not enough, I think, from considering how he progressed in the beginning of the race.
Yeah, I mean, he was very disappointed at the end of the race. I think Ferrari are just done with this season as a whole and just trying to make it to the end at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's so funny, but this year it's been the same every race, so it's not surprising. Really.
No, it's just that with Ferrari it is always the next year would be better, and then the next year it comes and it is not better. And what is it now? 5-6 races in a row without a point for Alex Albon, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alex Albon. It's been 6 races without a point. He did get points in the Kota Sprint, but yeah, in the Grand Prix he hasn't got any points, which is kind of surprising considering how good he was before that. But he's been getting involved in a lot of incidents, but Sainz has really stepped up compared to him. I was very surprised because Albon was dominating him at the start of the season, and Sainz has managed to turn it around and he's starting to pick up a lot of serious points.
I think he just needed to get used both to the team and the car, and actually I cannot wait for Williams next year because I like both Albon and Sainz as pilots, and actually I don't know how they're going to construct the car, how actually everything around Williams right now is really interesting. I have relatively high expectations for them, not top 4 team, but right at the point behind the top 4 teams.
I mean, this is exactly what they are right now. Maybe they were more like that in the beginning of the season because we can see after the summer break, other teams have also managed to progress, like RB, Haas.
Yeah, their development definitely, I think, fell off, and I think their qualifying pace overall has shown that. Also impressive drives, Isaac Hadjar and Nico Hulkenberg getting some really good points for their teams. Isaac Hadjar is 9th in the standings. He's at 51 points, which is very impressive from him.
Yeah, actually, the battle for 9th would be interesting. Hadjar, Hulkenberg, and Sainz, they're all separated in 3 points with 2 races to go.
And also, Ollie Behrman got his 5th consecutive points finish after the disqualifications. Very impressive. I'm really impressed by him. Although this race wasn't spectacular for Haas, they still ended up getting double points finish, which in this heated constructors battle is, very important. And actually these points allowed them to jump Aston Martin in the standings. And all of a sudden Aston Martin find themselves in 8th in the standings and only 4 points away from 9th, which I don't think anyone was expecting this to happen even a few races ago.
Definitely, and Sauber, they're actually picking up points, not Bortoleto, but Hülkenberg is in really good form, probably one of the best seasons of his career. Actually, when we consider the podium, it may be the best season of Hülkenberg's career, even though Sauber 9th. And as we discussed the championship, I think that RB, they have sealed 6th probably, most probably.
17 points is a lot in the midfield.
Yeah, in the midfield it's a lot, and have Mercedes secured 2nd place.
For sure.
I'm 99% sure that they have secured it. And what about Red Bull and Ferrari? Who's going to take it?
I don't know what there is to say. I mean, the thing is, if Max has a bad race, it's over for Red Bull because they're gaining no points basically from that race.
Yeah.
So,
that's true.
Yeah, 13 points. I mean, I would hope for, or he would be able to manage this. But judging by their pace, like their quality pace has been horrendous. So I really don't have high expectations. I think Ferrari will stay fourth at this point.
Yeah. Okay, guys, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Double disqualification for McLaren. It's time. Like, the reason for it was an excessive plank wear, because there are certain regulations that the FIA follows, and after the race they tested both cars, and it turned out that probably their setup, like the car setup, was to be as low as possible, and they really like had porpoising and touched the ground a lot. We saw even when Piastri was overtaking Leclerc, for example, that the car was bumping into the ground. So let's discuss like how does this affect the championship and what's going on after.
The FIA, they actually, before this race, they changed the rules because people, like all teams, found like a loophole to get by the skid wear, but they removed it, and funnily enough, McLaren ended up not adjusting to it. But it's huge for the championship. I think it would have been even like more substantial if it was just Norris getting disqualified. But with Piastri getting disqualified as well, Norris still has a 24-point lead, which is fairly healthy. Although, you know, we've seen people like Kimi Raikkonen and Sebastian Vettel manage to overcome these kinds of deficits in the past with 2 races to go. But it's still like a substantial gap, you know. Lando just needs to finish on the podium both races actually, and he can still win the championship. So it's not the end of the world for him. For Oscar Piastri, it's quite awful. And Max Verstappen, he gets huge amount of help here, but he still needs more help to get the job done. And it's quite crazy he's level on points with Piastri, because after Zandvoort the gap was 104 points between the two, and now it's level on points, which is unbelievable.
That's crazy.
Max got eight consecutive podiums, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, 8 consecutive podiums, 4 race wins in that time span. Just incredible consistency. He did drop points early on. I mentioned this when Spain happened, but that, you know, if he didn't do what he did, he would have had even more points right now. It's ending up costing him, but still in the fight, absolutely.
Well, if we discuss like if alternative events happened, like what if Antonelli didn't took him?
Well, no, I'm saying Spain because this was his fault.
Yeah, it was his fault, and also there were some minor changes that would have happened, but actually at this point we are at the end of the season with 2 races to go and 1 sprint, and I'm beyond excited, because even if Max don't win the championship, this has been one of the most impressive seasons. Oops, sorry, Harry. This is one of the most impressive seasons and drives that I have seen, that I remember in like modern F1 history, because Max after actually 4 or 5 races of the season, nobody expected like other driver rather than the McLaren ones
Well, he was still picking up wins in the start of the season. Like, he was not that far behind them. It's really like Spain, Austria, he lost a lot of points in these races.
Yes, but just that McLaren were looking so fast, and at one point during the season, it was, I think even Max said it. It is all over. I'm not fighting for the championship. But actually, right now, we have a battle, and I want to see going to Abu Dhabi, like the 3 of them fighting for that like 2010 style.
Yeah, it would be. Well, 2010 even had 4.
Yeah, well, we had 4, but
it's too much to ask.
Hamilton was on like mathematically.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, you never know. George Russell, he might do nothing and just win the championship at this point because he's used to getting random good results. But yeah, Max, I think since he's tied up points with Oscar, we have to think that Max is going to beat Oscar in this championship, right? With Oscar's awful form. I mean, no podiums in the last now 6 races, which for a guy who was so good and so consistent in the first half of the season, it really is unexplainable what's happened.
I don't know what happened. I still cannot explain like what happened with Oscar. Somebody like he was sleeping and somebody took all his super driver abilities, but I don't know what happened really.
I think the
Also-
Monza thing really must have affected him mentally because everything has happened after that Monza
Maybe,
race.
maybe. And also something that we should address. How do you think these changes would affect McLaren actually? Changes in the regulations, because we can see actually if that affects them in a negative way, even if they, let's say, that makes them lose a few, let's say, 0.2, 0.3 seconds in quali, or they lose just a bit of race pace, that can be huge for the championship as well.
Yeah, it could. I mean, I don't know how substantially it'll affect them because I think they were only like minimally above the limit for the plank wear. So I don't think it's too much of an issue at this point in the season, especially there's 2 races to go. I think especially Lando, he still can do enough, especially his qualifying pace has been phenomenal, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him get pole position once again in the next race. And if he's getting pole positions, then there's really nothing to worry about for them, in my opinion.
Well, we'll see. You never know. That is the best thing about F1. Like, you never know. And with 3 races to go, 2 races to go, and 3 people still in the title race, it is just fascinating. I love this kind of battles, and we have in the past few years. We have forgotten about that because the only time that we had that in recent memory was Hamilton versus Verstappen, which was like absolute cinema.
Yeah, but it was still only 2 people. Like this is 3
Yeah, and
people.
we have 3 people.
First time in 15 years, 2010. So
Yes, and I definitely I cannot wait for the last 2 races of the season.
yeah.
Yeah, I think all of us are looking forward to that. So, yeah, I think we can move on to the fun rubric because we discussed quite a lot what's happening with the championship. I'll start. My highlight of the weekend was the wet qualifying session because, as the guys mentioned, finally the full wet tires were used and it was interesting to watch. I mean, it was eventful. Laps were constantly being improving, and it was quite nice. I mean, I didn't expect it in Las Vegas exactly, but you never know, as Vasco said.
Yeah, this was one of the most entertaining qualifying sessions I've watched in a while, which shows why wet tires are fun. So I would hope that the FIA lets them race more on wet tires. But yeah, my highlight of the weekend, the disqualifications, obviously, because even after the race, I know Lando didn't win, but he still finished second, and he basically had the championship. I mean, not sealed, but at a very, very comfortable lead, and it looked really certain that in Qatar he would win it. But now after the disqualification, things have really turned on their head, and Max is well and truly there. So yeah, that was definitely a highlight.
Also, for me, this is the highlight of the weekend. The disqualification actually created the whole championship battle that we're going to see in the last 2 races. Also, something that I don't think we discussed. What do you think if, let's say, if last race of the season and we have Verstappen and Norris battling out, and we have, let's say, Verstappen second, Verstappen first, Piastri second, and Lando is third, and let's say Lando needs second place to win it. Do you think that Piastri is letting him pass?
I mean, it depends on also.
If he's mathematically in it, I don't
No,
think-
he's not.
Oh, then he's gonna have to let him pass. I mean, if he's out of the championship, it's obvious, right?
I mean,
Not really sure.
I mean, he let him through in Monza when he was the championship leader, so I wouldn't see when he's mathematically out why he wouldn't.
Well, because I don't know, flashbacks.
Yeah,
Because
Yes,
that is something that
Flashbacks.
fucked his championship.
but every time he does it, no matter he's always frustrated after the race or on the radio, but he never does anything about it. So I'm waiting for him to do something about it, but this year will not be the year he does anything about it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so surprise and disappointment, Harry.
Okay, my surprise is Kimi Antonelli. Even though he has been consistent recently, as David mentioned as well, his strategy was amazing. It was really well done as he managed to do over 50 laps on those hard tires, which was Very impressive tire conservation.
Yeah, and he
Yeah.
wasn't slow either. which is
Yeah, he managed to finish like exactly 5.1 seconds in front of Charles Leclerc, which was also impressive. And my disappointment for the second weekend in a row is Gavi Bortoleto, because I mean he has been really crash prone recently. He the form that he had, let's say during the summer break, is nowhere to be seen. He's like nowhere near Nico Hülkenberg. He's being outperformed every race. And if he wants to have a good 2026, he needs to pick up the pace.
Yeah, I agree for sure. My surprise is also Kimi Antonelli, because he started also 17th. Like, this is something I feel like people forget, and he was behind like Lewis, but the strategy, like, it really bolstered him so far up, and he maintained pace, didn't let Piastri or Leclerc overtake him. Very impressed by him, and it's actually second consecutive podium, which I feel like people are forgetting. And my disappointment, Ferrari. I mean, I just don't understand, why are they so like slow? They have like no pace for no reason whatsoever. Strategy questionable as usual, and just totally nowhere like the whole weekend. I don't understand why. But it doesn't matter. Vasco, you can say yours.
Well, my surprise was Carlos Sainz, because he took third in quali and he was 17th in the race, but after the disqualification, he jumped to fifth, which is pretty impressive weekend for him. And as we discussed at the beginning of the season, it was looking pretty rough for him, but after that, he stepped up and he is actually getting used to the car. He's much more comfortable, and now he's looking like Williams is a team that really fits him well. And my disappointment, Yuki Tsunoda.
It's like me for Ferrari, you for Yuki Tsunoda.
No, not only for Yuki Tsunoda, for the second driver at that Red Bull seat. It is cursed, because Yuki Tsunoda, even though I don't care whatever car, if he's driving a car that is 5 times slower than Verstappen's car, it is not normal to have like, how many points does Yuki even have? 28, but he took most of them, I think, in Racing Bulls. I feel like he took more points at Racing Bulls.
But I think that car is just easier to drive. I really think Max's driving style is just so unique that no one can really drive a car like this that's set up in such a way.
I don't know.
Because Liam Lawson also improved after getting out of the Red Bull.
Yes, but whatever is happening, like he's 12th, and take into consideration that 5 people did not finish the race, and also behind him were Gasly and Colapinto with the slowest car in the championship by a mile, by a few miles actually, and Liam Lawson, who got unlucky. But Yuki Tsunoda, every weekend, I think he just gave up. But for Red Bull, I don't know, that is just not good enough, and I'm super disappointed, because it is not Red Bull Racing, it is Max Verstappen Racing and some other guy that is taking 1-2 points every 7-8 races. I'm super disappointed.
Is Isaac Hadjar the next person to get ruined by the Red Bull?
Yes, he's. I don't believe that anybody. I think that even if Prime, I don't know, Alan Prost or Ayrton Senna gets in that second seat, they're just going to finish 27th out of 20 pilots. It is the curse is just too bad. But going to predictions.
Yeah, after that rant about the second Red Bull seat, I'll start with my predictions for Las Vegas. First of all, I said both Mercedes would be on the podium, which technically after the disqualification counts, so I'll take it as a point. And Aston Martin in the points. It was super close. Fernando Alonso once again was 11th, I think for the 4th or 5th time this season. Very unlucky guy, but I hope he gets points in the last 2 races. And my predictions for Qatar. First of all, I'm going on the Antonelli hype train, and I'm saying that he'll get a win. I know it sounds funny, but I don't care. He's in form.
He's never driven on this track in his life.
I know, but still, I believe in the Mercedes. It's been performing well lately, and the guy is also in good form. So even if it's wrong, I don't care. I think it's just a nice bold prediction. And the second one, I believe that Isaac Hajar will perform as he's fighting for the 8th place in the championship, and he'll get points in both the sprint and the race in Qatar. So let's see if this one proves correct. And now it's your turn, guys.
Well, my first one was that 2 out of the 3 drivers fighting for the championship would collide in Qatar. I hope that it would be Piastri and Norris, but most probably it won't. But yeah, we'll see. I just think that the tension is too high, and it is going to escalate at one point. And my other prediction, Harry, can you help me?
One of the Ferraris to be out in Q1.
Yes, one of the Ferraris to be out in Q1. So congratulations for Ferrari taking P1. Yeah, for taking P1 and P2 in quali.
And your predictions for Las Vegas? You said that Russell would win it.
That was.
Yeah. And
that was a mistake. But the other one was really good. That one, like outside of the top 4 teams, we would have a driver that is going to qualify in top 3.
Yeah.
And actually, Carlos Sainz took 3rd. So that is a really good random prediction.
Yeah. Well, our predictions for Las Vegas, unbelievably accurate for some reason, because I also have a correct prediction. Lando Norris will not win the race. He did not win the race, even without the disqualification, so I'll take that. And both Haas cars to be in Q3, they did not get into Q3. They got double points. I guess I should have specified a different session, but it is what it is. And my predictions for Qatar are, my first one is that Carlos Sainz will move to 9th in the standings, which means that he'll jump both Hulkenberg and Hadjar, which might be tough to beat them both, but he's on really good form. I've been really impressed with Carlos Sainz. I think he can do it. And one of Oscar Piastri or Max Verstappen will be mathematically eliminated from the championship, which would be huge news either way. It is somewhat likely to happen, but still, I honestly can't really imagine it, and I'm kind of praying for the 3-way title fight in Abu Dhabi. So I'm predicting this because I know that I will be wrong.
Well,
and if I am right, I get a point, so it's a win-win.
Yeah, we'll see. Actually, if our 3 predictions, if we merge them together and gambled on that, we could have shot that episode in Ibiza, but
yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I think we can wrap up as this is over today from us. We're looking forward to the next episode. And until then, like, subscribe, and follow us on AUBG Daily on Instagram and Facebook. And stay tuned for more episodes. Thank you, and remember,
if you no longer go for a gap that exists,
you're no longer a racing driver.